get, you can know more. You can expand. I like to think of it as expanding this way rather than this way. You know, so I can always be more expansive in my education and knowledge. So I'm curious, just because I told you I'm a reader, what are some of the books that you guys are reading, or the courses, or what are you doing right now? Anybody want to share anything you're reading? Or doesn't have to apply to this.
I just finished Bold. The brain hurts after that.
Yeah.
I'm reading The Dream Manager.
Okay, who
I can't
Wilkerson?
tell you the author right
Is it
now.
Wilkerson? Oh, Matt, I know who it is.
Yeah.
The Dream
Anyway,
Manager.
it's in story form, regarding how we all have a responsibility to help the other people around us in our lives, whether that's a business person or whatever, name and meet their needs.
We have a responsibility.
And then I've been doing a lot of the mentorship with Mo, and that's really been great for me.
Right. So there's a routine that you're into by doing that.
Most of the time.
Yeah. That allows you to expand. Anybody else?
Rereading, Logan.
Oh, yeah. Author.
You know, I love them both. The Christ Spirit. What's it called?
Hold your applause. I have them on my list. By the
Okay.
way, we happen to have the same ideas. So I did not write Dream Manager, so we can finish up. What did you say then? Hamilton. Oh, so it's a biography. Cool. So that's learning who he was and what.
In other words, I'm not finished with yet. Intentional Living by John Maxwell.
Intentional Living by John Maxwell.
And it's phenomenal.
That's the newest one, right?
Yes. And it's all about having a life of significance, which is different than success. And yeah.
The young guy. Yeah. Super. Love Hamilton. What else? Anybody else reading anything? Studying anything?
I've got 4 or 5 things going at the same
4 or 5
time.
things going.
But Clinton has us doing a luxury book club.
Oh.
And we're listing that book, Clinton Luxury.
Selling luxury homes
I caught
by Jack Hopkins. He's one who is highly recommended that I learn more and more of that whole luxury home market.
Great. Great. So you are proving to me already that you are learning based. Because you are sharing things that you're studying right now. So this is an important section because, yes, please.
When I ponder a lot.
Yes.
I love to learn. I love to read. I love coming to classes, especially classes like this, and really how we think. And at the same time, I always look for times where I've gotten, when do I get there? When is the end? When will I know what I need to know, do what I want to do?
When you're dead.
So but I battle.
Yeah.
That word battle. I have a struggle with that.
This section is about being learning for earning's sake, not for learning's sake. There will come a point at which we need to do something with what we're learning, right? And so the action that you can take will produce a result. Remember programming from Bold? Your thoughts create your feelings, and your feelings produce your actions, and your actions produce your results, and then your results tell you what you're doing. And it all comes back to what you think. So you notice, and it's a process, and then you can adjust as you go. You're never going to be there because there changes. We shift, we grow, we understand things differently. You will notice, however, how you feel. I always think of this book that I read, and I have a list here, by Dane here called Being You, Changing the World. And one thing I remember from that book is, how do you make decisions? And he says, I make them based on how I feel, heavy or light, heavy or light. And if you can make decisions that cause you to feel light, you'll know you're getting there. And you'll say, oh, I did that, it produced that result, and I like that result.
So that would be the heavy and light then, right?
Just consider, and again, this is just things I'm inviting you to think about. Because if it's a command, you will resist it. You just will, Diane, right? I mean, we already know that. No, just because she did a demonstration. She did a demonstration with me. So,
calling me out.
yeah, yeah. So I want to give you, this is from Jody. Nobody gets this except people who are taking class from me. These are my personal recommendations. So that's why some of your recommendations are not on the list, because I haven't read them yet. And if I've heard about a book, I haven't put it on the list. These are just books I read or experience. And so I wanted to give this to you because I teach this class once in a while to people who are outside of literature. And so when we are kind of in our mode of Keller Williams, we sort of forget sometimes that there are other things besides what we can learn. And I'll get one for, there's one short, but we'll get one. Oh no, we're not, here it is. So, you can take a look at that as part of this. But I just wanted to hand that out because we're going to come back to that, so don't get too far ahead of that yet. I just wanted you to have that in case you wanted to add anything as we start talking about it. So, learning-based. A learning-based individual is an individual who has made the decision, right, decided to use effective learning as the foundation piece for the action plan to develop their life. The foundation is learning. And I love this graphic that you'll see. When you're not learning-based, the opposite of that is ignorance-based. I know what I know and I'll ignore anything else. Do you know people like that? Don't tell me anything different because I'm not going to change my mind. Heaven forbid.
Not changing, not broken.
Not broke, don't fix it. Exactly. Work it. So that says trivial pursuits leads to nowhere. K-N-O-W. Nowhere. People who are learning based, on the other hand, I know what I know and there's always more to know. So they know for doing sake. And I love that they say you can get enlightenment on the inside and productivity on the outside. And Abraham Maslow talked about the hierarchy of needs. You get to the higher self-actualization, which was his whole premise. As human beings, we're always striving to achieve. And we get that when we become learning. So the way this works, we start out in our lives not even knowing what we don't know. We're unconsciously incompetent. We don't even know what we don't know. So you can think of something in your life that you didn't even know existed. And you were ignorant. It was awesome. Ignorance is bliss, right? We don't know what we don't know. It's fine. And then you add knowledge. So you'll notice there's a little gap between the bubbles. And if you just write the word knowledge in between unconscious incompetence and conscious incompetence, when you add knowledge, what you can learn by reading, and something you can learn by asking somebody else, you can gain knowledge in your mind. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you've applied it. You know, I can think about, are you guys really high on, still high on Peyton Manning here? Because he's still a great guy, just heard, right? Of course. So, Peyton Manning, I think, is a perfect example of somebody who's become very good at what he does. But I don't think, even though he was raised by a dad who was a pro quarterback too, I don't think he just read about it, heard about it from his dad, and then went out and threw those passes. I really don't believe it was knowledge alone that allowed him to be as good as he was. So he didn't know what he didn't know. Added knowledge, but that didn't mean he was good at it yet. It just meant that now he's consciously incompetent. Oh boy, now I know what I don't know. Oh, because I've added knowledge. When you add the next stage, which is wisdom, which comes from experience, to conscious incompetence, you add wisdom, and wisdom is what we learn after we know it all. About age 24. I know it all. Then we get to conscious competence, where now we know.
I didn't know anything about this. Now I know I don't know it. So I'm going to study and learn. Now I know I know. So, brain surgery. I know there's something called brain surgery, but I know I don't know how to do it. So if I add knowledge and get some wisdom, I can become eventually consciously competent, and then over time create the habit of unconscious competence, where now I don't even have to become it. Another example is driving. Today, you pulled that driving back into your consciousness. It's not a habit when you have conditions like you have outside today. But normally, do you think about driving? Do you remember how you got there? I know, right? I don't even remember how I got there. You don't think, blinker, up is right, down is left, brake, oh my gosh, off, brake, on. You don't think about that stuff. But when you first learned to drive, didn't you go like this? You thought you had to turn, you had to steer like that? I didn't. And then you hit the brake and you go through the windshield. That was before you knew what you knew. So now you bring it back to conscious competence when you got conditions like you have out today. There's a book called Talent is Overrated by Jeff Colvin, and in that book he says the people who are the most successful don't allow their skills to get into unconscious competence, where it just becomes habit and routine. They keep it in conscious so that they can always improve. So the top, like athletes and maybe the top singers and performers, they really keep their knowledge right here so that they always know they're coming the way up. And I'll give you an example from me. I sing in a chorus. I sing in a barbershop chorus. And I love this barbershop chorus experience. We had a show this weekend in Minneapolis, 3 shows. So fun. And when I first joined, I thought it was a singing organization. Didn't know. I heard them sing at a mall. I thought, oh, it sounds like fun. I love the harmonies. It's great. Didn't know anything about it. Saw them. Went from unconscious incompetence, added knowledge, conscious incompetence. Well, I don't know how to do this. Because I realized that they also have dancing, choreography. I didn't know that. I thought I joined the singing organization. Oh my gosh. They have like actions and stuff. Now you not only just have to sing, but you have to move with it. So that does not come naturally to you at all. There are some people who just get it. Not me. I have to think. There's a song that goes, tell your mama you ain't coming home tonight. We're going to jump down and do some duck dancing. Tell your, and it's like, tell your mama you ain't coming home tonight. We're going to jump down and do something. I have to think. Right. And then it looks like that on my face. That's no fun to watch. And at some point you have to go from conscious incompetence to conscious competence. But at some point it becomes unconscious. And then you're in it, and you're just doing it. But for me it never gets there. I have to train my face so that I really get that stuff. That's really funny. 2 years ago we were in Denver actually for our international competition. So I got to spend time here. So it's any activity you're doing. It could be your real estate business, it could be anything. If you can keep it maybe in conscious competence, you can always improve it. Just go ahead and yeah, I know. I hear singing voices. No. So we have a curriculum at Keller Williams that you may or may not know about that is amazing. And I'm going to show you some of these tools right after we watch Georgia. We're going to watch Georgia Altazar first. And she's going to tell us how she has made the learning-based foundation. Yes. Let's hear from Georgia. I think I got to turn
Altazar, regional director of the North. Hi, I'm Georgia Altazar, regional director of the North Florida region. I made learning-based the foundation for my action plan from the time I started with Keller Williams in 1999. I quickly learned that Keller Williams was a training and coaching company that happened to sell real estate. I was amazed at all of the training available to help agents go from having a sales job to teaching them how to run a real estate business and develop into leaders. As a former team leader in Plano, Texas, I took every opportunity to attend agent training classes and leadership classes. I then brought that information back to our market center and used it to teach our agents. I know that being learning-based and continuing to attend the KWU and regional training events resulted in my leadership opportunities in Keller Williams as a team leader and now in my OP, regional director, and master faculty role. Being learning-based provides you the opportunity to use the 80-20 model effectively to master what you need to do to stay in your 20%. It is the key for moving from E to P as you need to learn new models and systems to break through your current ceiling and you continue to reach new ceilings. How do you break through limiting beliefs without learning what it will take to get you out of that fixed mindset and move you into unlimited thinking? Learning-based is being accountable to the learned activities you need to do to grow your business and not go into victim mode. All of this takes you to mastery. The mastery of you to have unlimited opportunities in Keller Williams. Make learning-based the foundation of your action plan for unlimited success. I did.
You? You don't know what I'm talking about?
That was skimming.
I know. Didn't you think? I didn't see the first time I heard her say that. Okay, so we have so many opportunities on pages 61 through like 69 or something. There are so many classes, and I'd like to give you the opportunity to go through all the way down like through 71. And there are little check boxes there. You can check the classes you are committed to taking in 2016. This is the beginning of your action plan for the year. And there may be some you've already taken or you want to take again. But check these off. And if you want to, you can also include the books that I've given you. And I'm going to give you some time to start putting together your action plan for the newer agents, if there are any. I know there's Ignite. When do you have Ignite?
We launched brand new Ignite, January 11th.
So, I want to think about
And
January
that should
11th.
be, I mean, I would invite everybody in the room to come. It's
Brand
brand new.
new.
First time we've ever done this, January 11th.
Okay.
Whole new format.
Fun.
Yeah, I'll do more than speak as far as how it's just because I've got a webinar. Amazing.
Great. Okay, so Ignite will look a little different, but it's on your list. So go ahead and take a look at some of those classes. Maybe it's coaching or whatever you think it might be for you. And on page 73, I believe. Yep, that's your plan your learning path. It'll just allow you to go all the way through 73 and really decide for yourself what you are committed to learning in 2016. Perfect. bet if you have a class there that you see, that you don't know if it's being held, I bet there's somebody in the room that might be able to take a suggestion.
And our education chair.
Awesome. There we go. So if there's something you see, a Winwood Cellars, Winwood Flyers, and you say, oh, that would be nice to have, that you could get that suggestion. 36 bucks. If you guys did 36 transactions in a year, would that be a good year for you?
Yeah.
That's a cool problem. That's a limiting belief. We can talk about it in the next. Turns out that there are.
Well, yeah.
That's one way. That's one way. There are other ways. I was just told in my market center that they bought a block and they don't use it. He said, you want to go, George? We've got it there. There's no excuse. So there are. They might. They might. They lost 50 agents this year. Last year. So they might have a block. So let me find out. Let me find out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get first dibs, okay?
Well, yeah, remind me, send me an email. Yeah. Because I don't
We
know
were
for
just gonna
sure.
go down and stay nearby and
Well, and I was thinking about that
hang
too.
out.
When you go to New Orleans and you're just
Wander
there,
in.
And you know
Yeah,
what?
if you happen to be there.
I'm telling you, some of
Last year, the
them.
week before, 2 weeks before, always, there are always people available.
Yes.
Because some team leader can talk more
Right,
than they
right.
needed, or somebody got ill, or somebody got married.
Right. There's always.
Yeah.
There's no really no reason not to do this.
Okay.
There's not scalpers outside.
I think that was addressed though. There was
Family
a.
reunion.
They
Yeah.
don't address that, because they were having issues with
Yes.
people buying tickets and then selling them for more,
Yes.
making a profit, and so.
KW is not, that's
They
not a
did
big
just
deal.
But yeah, that's not really a KW.
No, that's not culture at all.
Culture, yeah.
That was,
So I'm telling you from my own personal experience, please do not let anything limit you. If you want it badly enough, I'm telling you it's going to show up. And even if it means you go to New Orleans and you hang out at the bars where they're hanging out, or you go.
That was my plan.
I'm telling you, because that's
Like
where
Kahlua?
a lot of, yeah, I know, it's like,
But you don't
a
have
lot
to
of
go
the
to
business
class.
happens in the hallways,
Yeah.
being there.
Well, the I wrote the GPS committee guy and haven't heard back yet. You can just get into the global, my interest of global. And I haven't heard back.
but,
Yeah.
That's the vendor hall, and yeah, the answer is yes, you can, and you can buy those tickets at the door.
no, not the vendor hall, the global property specialist, seminars.
Oh, the breakout.
Yeah. I assume there are some.
Yeah, there are, but I don't think you.
I still wouldn't allow any of that to hold you back.
I just show up and walk in.
So on page 73, I'm hopeful that you've gotten there. On the bottom, number 4, because number 1, 2, and 3 are great, but number 4, I think sometimes we forget about that possibility within KW. You have an opportunity to grow your downline. You don't have to. You don't have to get people to join KW and join your downline at all. And if you do, who is looking for passive sources of income? Hello? I love what I do. I love where I am. Yeah, right. We don't need that. Right. I love what I do, and I love the opportunity to be at a company that focuses on X, Y, and Z. And I would just love to tell you more. You know, I know you're looking for something, or you know, if you're at another real estate company, or you know, golly, you guys, servers. I'm telling you what, restaurant servers are so awesome at customer service, and some of them are like, you know, I've been here for a while, and I know there's more for me. You know, you could grow your own cafe. Start from, you know, it's so fun to see young people. There was a young man in a little town by Fargo where I live, who, when he was 15 years ago, when he was 3 years old, he got his arms caught in an auger. 3-year-old got both arms ripped off, and so he became a little bit famous in our part of the world because we followed this little boy. You know, 3 years old, no arm. And so it was his 18th birthday would have been last summer, and they were following him 15 years later. How you doing? And his name is Parker. And Parker went through this whole thing about how he's a really good student. He grew up on a farm, has that work ethic, you know, knows that he wants to make a difference in the world. Has met a lot of doctors. Think about that. Because I'm a nerd. And he, at the very end of this long article about him, said, you know, what I really want to do is be a real estate agent.
What?
So, being the good KW person I am, I called him. And I said, Parker, you don't know me, but I know you because I know your story. And I grew up in a town that's, you know, 20 miles from where he grew up. And we know people in common. I mean, I'm not 18, for heaven's sake. So we're not, like, we wouldn't know each other in common. But I know who he is. And I called him. I said, Parker, I'd like to help you. And you let me know how I can help you do this. And so I got him the information about taking the classes. And, golly, I tell you, I don't know how he was texting me. And he was texting me, and we were talking on the phone. And finally, he wanted to meet. And so we got together and we met. And I didn't know what to expect, really. You know, do I help him open the door? What do I do? And I watched him get out of his truck, his pickup, and he came in, and he has one, like, stub is a little bit longer than the other one, and he hooked the door with his arm, and he opened the door, and he got in, and I didn't want to insult him, but I didn't want him to struggle, but then I thought he's done this for 15 years, and I didn't know what he did. So we talked for a lifetime, and I just forgot that he had arms. And we're sitting at this coffee shop, and of course can I get you a coffee? Well, very good. And I thought, what do I do? And so I was making up all these stories in my head. There weren't even no need to. I said, Parker, I want to tell you about real estate. It sounds glamorous, it sounds fun. People say they want to get into real estate because they watch HGTV and they want that's not what it's about. This is about a business, and if you really want to be successful, you have to treat it like a business. And because I'd forgotten he had no arms, right? And so he said, I know hard work. Oh, of course you do. Oh, she goes, if I grew up on a farm. Not, I don't have any arms. Yeah. I grew up on a farm. And so this young man is now in my downline. And I'm so excited because wouldn't he be awesome walking across the stage at the Keller Williams event saying, I can't accomplish anything. I asked him one time, he has prosthetic arms. And I said, do you ever use them? He goes, yeah, the other day I used them. I said, what did you use them for? And he said, my roommate wanted me to help him pick weeds. So he put on his arms to pick weeds. I thought, oh my gosh, he can do everything. He doesn't need his arms. So you never know who you're going to find. And this young man knows doctors, and he knows people, and he knows people who are always looking for houses, and he knows the connections, and he comes from a farming background, so he knows business. You know, you never know where you're going to find your downline. And if you have somebody on the other side of a transaction who you really enjoyed having as part of that transaction, maybe invite them to a class like this, or something like this that's non-threatening. And just say, I'd love to show you, some of the things that I'm learning. And if they feel pushed upon, they're going to push back. So don't make it be a push. This is just an invitation. And I know when I was team leader, I was always looking for those people who you guys like. Who do you like? Who are the people you... Just because they're a huge top producer doesn't mean anything. A calf is a calf. It doesn't matter to us. I just want really good people. I want people who are learning based and who want to grow and do the things we're doing today. And those people are the people you want to start talking about. So it says, I'll invite blank to blank. Maybe there's an opportunity to invite somebody to a class. Maybe Ignite. Ignite might not be the best choice unless they're already in real estate and they just don't know what they don't know. I know RE/MAX does not have classes as part of their structure. So RE/MAX, I know at least in Fargo, the RE/MAX agents love our training because they don't get that training. They have a really high split because they don't have training. So maybe they want to come and experience something with you. Just consider that that could be part of your action plan. Okay. So, page 75. Aha! Go ahead and write down a couple of ahas from this. Make being learning based just on the foundation.
I began to have a recurring dream, night after night for months. And in my dream, I would walk in and sit on the floor of this room. Concrete floors, tall white walls, warehouse windows, and a mattress on the floor. And the most incredible thing would happen when I was in that space. I would be filled with the warmest, most pervasive sense of peace and calm. And one day I was telling a friend about this room and how weird it was that I kept dreaming about it, and she asked the question that really turned my life inside out. She said, "Have you ever thought about looking for this dream in real life?" and the idea felt just silly. But there was something about it where I began to wonder if there was greater intelligence in the dream. So I started searching for this room on Craigslist. And one day, I'm scrolling through Craigslist and I see a photograph, literally, of the dream that I've been having at night. And I took it as a big sign. There was an open house the very next day. I went, I got the apartment. 2 weeks later, I moved into this space and I sat in real life on the same floor that I'd been sitting on in my dreams. And instead of being filled with peace, I unexpectedly began to panic. I began to wonder, what was all this about, what was going on, and I literally said out loud, why am I here? And as clear as day, as clear as anything I know to be true, the room replied, it's time to paint. The next morning, I started painting and had no idea what I was doing, but I just felt inwardly, deeply compelled to do this thing. And I there and then saw this, what I now call the crossroads of should and must. It was this moment where I could see my entire design career and worked at all these amazing startups, but I had no idea what any of that had to do with my dream of painting in a white room. Those worlds were both equally appealing, but they were totally different. And standing right there between those two paths, I had to choose. I couldn't keep it up. I couldn't do both. And I looked at my finances. I saw that I could buy myself some time to give it a go. And I went in, all in, 2 feet. To step into that place of must, it's the place where you could totally fail. It's the place where you could lose everything. It feels that scary to go after what you really want and why you're here. It's like being in a video game. It's like this is the final level. It's the final duel. And it's really you versus yourself. Once you deal with the shoulds of what society says you should do, what your friends say you should do, what advertising says you should or shouldn't do, after you've dealt with all of the shoulds that they put on you, your last one is really yourself. And no matter how much help you have getting to that door, it's you by yourself crossing through that final passageway. And if there is one thing that I have learned in all of this work, all of it, and living it and writing about it and talking with others, it is this. Choosing must is the greatest thing that you can do with your life. And when you're standing at that door, I hope that those words will come into your head and you will trust that this process has so many gifts to give you if you'll just trust it, if you'll just let go, if you'll just step into that thing that really, really scares you, because that's must. And on the other side of that is the most incredible miracles of your life. We just have to understand that there's a greater potentiality with our lives and to trust that that will manifest over time.
Wow.
So sad. Is that on YouTube?
Oh, second, yeah. I called it Trust Your Must. I don't think it's called that specifically.
Hover over the video, it should give you a little YouTube. Well, it's embedded in a... Right, but it should still give you the YouTube, and you can embed it.
It's from Soul Pancake. So it's one of the Soul Pancake videos that, have you ever heard of Soul Pancake? Yeah. So if you go to Soul Pancake, it'll be there. But it's creative.love. Visit www.creative.love. Maybe?
Luna was on the first slide.
Yeah.
LLE.
Yep.
I assume that's her name.
Yep. I think she writes a blog.
Really, we're just.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing that. That was very cool.
Yes. Yes. We all have a hero's journey.
You've seen Funny Joe?
Yes. Yes. And if you
That
have
reminded me of that.
so
Just so you know, it's called the crossroads of should and must.
Thanks, man.
it's good to have a tech guy right here.
Right?
When I was team leader in my market center, we used to have inspirational movie Fridays, the last Friday of the month at 3:30, and we watched Finding Joe. It's one of our many.
Yes.
And so there's a movie called Finding Joe, which is about finding your journey, finding your path. And Joseph Campbell, who wrote The Power of Myth, was kind of the impetus behind all of this. So there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do to help you on this path. But I just felt the need to share that with you because I think that will help you understand that there is a crossroad between should and must. If should feels heavy, then must might feel a little lighter. not do it, which is a double negative, which you're never supposed to do. I can't not do it. I'm compelled. It's the stand for, you guys, instead of the fight against, which we talked about earlier. It's the stand for. If we're having these thoughts about how bad this is and I don't like it and the world is going to the dogs and I need to do something, then there you go. That's it. There it is. Then I need to do something. If I need to do something and I need to say something, you know, we talked about do I speak up if I don't agree with something? Well, you have all the choices in the world and you can fight all you want, or you can invite people to have a dialogue instead of a discussion. That's a huge distinction. You know, it's the invite to the white, right? Invite to the white. If you want to go to invitetothewhite.com, that's my blog that I created because of this.
Invite to the white?
Invite to the white. The stripes on the beach ball are all everybody's different perspective, but the white circle is where all the colors come together. We can invite people to share their perspective in a way that doesn't threaten, then we can hear from people in a way that we might not be. So, learning based. Huge. And if we're not learning based, then what we're doing is we're giving way to our limiting beliefs. And if we don't even realize we're doing this, then how can we do better? If we have these limiting beliefs that are keeping us stuck, we can't do better. So before we move on, I want to ask you a question. I just want to ask you in the room a question, and I'm actually going to ask you to close your eyes. You don't even have to see. All I'm going to ask for is a show of hands. How many in this room can draw? Raise your hand. Oh my Lord. Do you know how many people raised their hands? One. Do you know what the question was? You can open your eyes. The question was not, can I draw well? The question was, can I draw? You all have a limiting belief about your ability to draw.
We just failed.
You just failed. You failed.
I don't think you're every time.
I know, right? Until you know better, you can't do better. Thanks.
My face was like this.
You were the only one who raised your hand.
It was like, I can draw. Not great, but I can draw.
But I didn't ask if you could draw great. So keep in mind, I told you earlier that I was going to share a song with you, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to see if I can find that song. And I want just listen to the words of this song. I don't have any idea what this is going to be because I've never tried to do this before. We're going to get a Macy's commercial.
Starting 75% store-wide.
We can all go run out and shop.
You spend 25 on select merchandise with your savings pack, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Get your pass at Macy's.com.
Okay, so this is just the listening. Listen to the words of the song.
The little boy went first day of school. He got some crayons and he started to draw. He put colors all over the paper. All colors was what he saw. And the teacher said, "What you doing, young man?" "I'm painting flowers," he said. She said, "It's not the time for art, young man. And anyway, flowers are green and red. There's a time for everything, young man, and the way it should be done. You've got to show concern for everyone else, for you're not the only one." And she said, "Flowers are red, young man, and green leaves are green. There's no need to see flowers any other way than the way they always have been seen." But the little boy said, "There are so many colors in the rainbow, so many colors in the morning sun, so many colors in the flower, and I see everyone." The teacher said, "You're sassy, there's ways that things should be, and you'll paint flowers the way they are, so repeat after me." And she said, "Flowers are red, young man, and green leaves are green. There's no need to see flowers any other way than the way they always have been seen." But the little boy said, "There are so many colors in the rainbow, so many colors in the morning sun, so many colors in the world. like you should. Well, finally he got lonely, writing thoughts filled his head. And he went up to the teacher, and this is what he said. And he said, flowers are red, and green leaves are green. There's no need to see flowers any other way than the way they always have been seen. Time went by like it always does, and they moved to another town. And the little boy went to another school, and this is what he had found. The teacher there was smiling, she said fading should be fun. And there was so many colors in the flower, so let's use every one. But that little boy painted flowers, and these roses green and red. And when the teacher asked him why, this is what he said. And he said, flowers are red, and green leaves are green. There's no need to see flowers any other way than the way they always have been seen.
Picture, but you have to puke things out before you can put new things in. You have to puke out all that yucky crap. I don't have enough time for training. Well, what if you said instead, if I put the time in for training now, I will reap long-term benefits in my business. The limiting belief is I don't have enough time. And the reality is, if I put time in for training now, I can't be successful in this market. Well, you can be right about that. Or you can say, a shifted market is the very best opportunity for doing. I can't devote 3 hours each day to lead generation. Well, I can't afford to miss 3 hours of lead generation. It's my future. The same situation, just looked at in a different way. And high achievers remove those beliefs from their thinking that hold them back. We talked earlier about being right. Rick Elias said, I learned that I didn't want to be right. I wanted to be happy. So let's hear from Jackie Ellis about how she removing her limiting
Hi, my name is Jackie Ellis, and I'm here to talk to you about removing your limiting beliefs. Shortly after joining Keller Williams, I began attending all of the fabulous events available to us, like Mega Camp and Family Reunion. And on the stage were amazing agents openly sharing their strategies for success, and I, very much like you, would be in the audience writing down notes and taking those strategies back to my own marketplace, which I did implement. Well, a few years after attending Mega Camp, once again in the audience, I realized as I was looking up at these amazing agents that they had fabulous businesses, and that I would never have that sort of a high volume, high impact business. So when I got back into town, I took a quiet moment to myself, and I took out a piece of paper and wrote a line down the middle, and on the left side I wrote all of the things that I had going for me on my side that I could use to create one of these fabulous businesses. I had the training, and I could take the training through Keller Williams as many times as I wanted. There were models that if I just followed them, I could be a success like those on stage. And there were systems as well. After completing the left side of my page, I went over to the right side, and I began to write what would be holding me back. And as I stared at the right side, I could not think of one thing to put on that piece of paper. I realized it was my limiting beliefs, my very own limiting beliefs that were holding me back. And once I removed them, there would be no holding me back. So fast forward to now, and those very agents that I saw on stage are now my friends, and I'm well on the track to one of those very businesses that I so admired. I want to know, do you have limiting beliefs? Do you recognize them? And what are you going to do to remove them?
Okay, ask us again.
How many of you can drop? Awesome. Done. My work here is done. Now I can go home. But it is kind of almost that simple, just not always easy. You've got things that have been holding you back in your past, and I'm going to tell you, you've been programmed over a lot of time to tell you, I can't, or I'm not worthy, or whatever the stories you've been telling yourself. So we all have those somewhere. And the danger is when we can't identify them. They're running in the background, as software. And so when we can start saying, is that really true? We can ask ourselves. Another book that I just remembered right now that I don't have on my list, I don't think. It would probably fit under just really good books. It's called Loving What Is by Byron Katie. Byron Katie. Her first name is Byron, I know it's weird, and her last name is Katie. But it's Loving What Is. And she says we believe our thoughts. We don't even realize we're doing it. We believe that's true. Whatever that story is we've been telling ourselves. And so if we're not consciously putting new thoughts into our consciousness, then we're being run by those programs.
And handing them down to others.
Yes.
Reading the Dream Manager, what has come up from you there and what's coming up from you again today is what have I done to pass along to my sons that have kept them from getting their dreams because I've been practiced, right?
Right.
So same thing. Again, my limiting beliefs, I'm passing on to them.
And keep in mind, it came from your mother, and her mother, and her mother, right? So it's generational. There's nothing wrong with this. I'm saying we've done the best we can. What we know. And remember, backwards is change, forward is transformation. So if we want to change, we can go back and say, see, if only I had been, if only, and that's back. You can't change that. It's happening. So what do you want going forward? That's the transformation that can happen right now. And even though your sons have whatever you've programmed them, they also have their own path.
I'm optimistic. And, you know, I often say that's like, now I'm a realist.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
Invite
that
him.
was my
Invite him. Don't push and force. Right? And it's not Diane personally, it's just the Diane experiment, right? That will show us that pushing on people just creates resistance. What might I be able to do? Possibly. Because what I think, until we know better, we think what we're doing is working. Until we can get to the next one after this, which is become so long. So you've got an opportunity for an exercise on page 81. And it's to think of a time in your life when you had a limiting belief you needed to remove. Something in your life. I can't dance. I'm in this course and I can't dance. What am I going to do? Well, you have to remove that. So it's a personal exercise first and then a partner exercise. So it looks like since Clinton was here,
Can you come up?
until he comes back and then he'll be on his own. But no, yeah.
think of a time in your life when you had a limiting belief. How did you remove it? And what new successes came your way? And then share that with your partner.